Hello everyone, BlenderManTutorials here, and today I'm going to continue our Unity 5 game design tutorial with a look at how to change the rotation of an object and how to use the Unity online documentation to help us with our scripting endeavors. And I really feel like the online documentation part is a necessary evil in that you get a lot out of it for different things that are inside of your Unity project whenever you're working with object types you're not familiar with or methods you didn't know existed or that you might not have known about. And the online documentation really helps you to understand how those things work and how you can apply them within your own code so that you can change all the inner workings of your Unity project. So let's go into the online documentation. And so right here I'll provide this link in the description. It's just the Unity documentation. You can search anything regarding to scripting, as well as manually going in and finding the topics you're looking for. So I am going to look, because we're focusing on rotation, so we're going to be rotating a transform object or component. So I'm going to look up transform. Here we go. So the first thing is transform, position, rotation, and scale of an object. Perfect. So we can use this transform, right? Let's look at the rotation. So we can do transform.rotate right here. So that's what we're going to specifically use for our project. But I just kind of wanted to show you guys how to kind of look it up on your own. You just go into the search panel and you kind of have to do a little bit of digging, and you kind of have to know what you want in advance, but if you do know how to apply it, you can get a lot of help from it. So now on to the coding. So for our mouse look script, we're going to be editing our already created character movement script. And actually, I'm going to change it because I'm not a huge fan of the name. I'm just going to change this to something more like player controller, because it's controlling everything about our player. There we go. And when you do this, it's going to give you a huge error. So it says the reference script in the behavior is missing. It doesn't understand what's going on. And that's because the character move class needs to be the same as the title. So it needs to be player controller. Now if we go back into our sphere, it'll pop back up here again. So that's just a little detail. If you ever change the name of a script, you have to change its class as well to match the name, or else it's gonna give huge red flags. And also I'm gonna do a little bit of tidying up within our character controller or player controller script. And you can add in comments, which basically means the code or the computer will look at it and say this is a human piece of code. It's only for us to read and it's not for us to execute. So it will not run anything. So that's why we use this for initialization right here and things like that. It helps us to kind of sort through our code. So I'm just going to put this, and I'm going to specify these as our movement variables. Right. And then I'm going to do another comment right here. I'm going to have these be our camera rotation variables. And so what variables do we need for rotating our camera? Well, first we need the camera object, right? And we need to have a speed at which it will rotate. So let's make that camera object first. So I'm going to have it be public because we want to be able to choose the camera object, and this will come in handy, not necessarily now, but later when we actually want to change cameras maybe, or if you have multiple cameras in the scene. So we're going to have that be a transform. In this transform, I'm just going to call it cam. So we have the public variable called a public variable of type transform named cam. I'm going to be doing that a lot just to help you guys learn how to kind of use the C# format of coding. And then we're going to need a speed at which we rotate the camera. So we're going to make a public variable because we want to edit it inside of the Unity editor. That just means we can edit it right here in the inspector. And it's going to be a float because we need it to be a number with decimal points. And we're going to call this just look speed. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but a good thing to note is that you want to name your variables something that you can remember and not just like thing1, thing2. You want to make them specific so that it's easier for not only you to look through it, but anybody who might look through your code. You want them to have an easy time going through it. There's that printer again. Let me just turn this off. There we go. And I'll probably edit this out. There we go. So now that I've turned the printer off, let's create a new method that we're gonna move the camera with, and we're gonna call this method mouse look. So we don't want it to return anything, so we're just gonna have it return nothing, void, and mouse look is gonna be the name of this method. So inside this method, we want to do something similar to what we did up here, right? We're going to do it a little differently, though. So we're going to create a new float, and it's going to be mx. And it's going to be our mouse x position. Our mouse x position. That's going to be equal to our look speed. Actually, I'll just make this mouse x so that you guys can see it better. And then we're going to multiply that by an input. And this input is going to be an axis. But it's not going to be just any axis. It's going to be the axis of our mouse. So it's going to be mouse x. So what this is saying is that we're going to create a new variable called mouse x. It's going to be of type float. And then it's going to be equal to our look speed multiplied by an input. So it's going to be the speed at which we are traveling times the position of our mouse at this given moment relative to itself, or to its starting point. Then we're going to create another one for the mouse y. So let me just do that real quick. Float mouse x, so a mouse mouse y variable of type float is going to be equal to our look speed multiplied by an input from an axis that is generated from our mouse y. Perfect. Now we need to actually rotate our camera, and this is extremely simple. I believe in having extremely simple code so that you guys can actually edit it yourself. A lot of these, a lot of programs have they have a lot of code, and it's not necessarily for beginners. But it does pretty much the same thing, and other than a few exceptions, it gets the job done. So this next part's super easy. We're just going to grab that camera object that we specified over here, and we're going to rotate it right from the Unity documentation. And then we're going to rotate this on the x-axis. But it's going to be a little trippy because we're using the mouse Y to rotate on the camera's X rotation. It's weird, but just deal with it. It's all over soon. And so then we have this mouse Y 0 and 0. So it's only going to rotate on the camera's local x axes. And then we're going to get the player object, the object that the script is attached to, and we're going to say transform.rotate. So what this means is that it takes the transform of the object the script is attached to, and it's going to rotate based off what we now give, what values we now give it. And so we're going to have that not rotate anything on the x-axis, but we do want it to rotate on the y-axis by mouse x. So this part is basically saying to transform, or sorry, to grab the transform for which the object is attached and rotate it on the y-axis. There we go. That is our script. Let's go back into Unity. And if we look at the player controller script, we should have a look speed and a cam speed. So the look speed, I'm just going to put this at 2 and grab my game tab and make it bigger. And then the cam, I'm just going to drag my camera right here. And then we want to put the camera right under the sphere so that it runs with the sphere. And then for the sphere, we want to rename this character, or actually player. That's good. So right now, this is just going to be a third-person camera. However, if you wanted to make it first-person, I'll show you how to do that real quick. Silly me. I forgot to call the function. So in our update function, we need to call mouse look. That's one of the downsides of this, but it really helps when trying to prevent a cluttered script. And then I'm just going to put some comments here, put the character movement, and then this one I'm going to be player mouse look. Mouse. There we go. And save this. Save this. And let's go back in. Any errors? Glaring errors? Nope. There we go. And when we... okay, so it's inverted right now. But everything else is fine. So we just need to invert the rotating it on the x-axis. So we need to invert this, and that will work just fine. Boom. And I would say that's even a little fast. So now we can move around. Awesome. And so if you wanted to make this a first-person controller, you would put this, you would center this out in your object. And then you would have the camera rotation be the same, I believe. Let's see. Yeah. Boom. That's going to be the basics to begin the scripting the camera movement in Unity 5, and I hope that the tutorial was helpful. Comment down below if you want me to cover any other topics, and again, I kind of have a general idea about the tutorial series, but I would love to hear suggestions from the people who are actually watching the videos. Click the like button if you want me to continue doing these, and as always, subscribe because the support really encourages me to make more videos and it helps you get informative content. So next video, I'm going to make our mouse look script a little bit better. It's got some glitches and stuff, and also we're going to add more functionality to our character controller. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.